So the BMA are asking for a 35% pay rise for junior doctors who went on strike yesterday. It might sound like a huge increase, but given the context, and actually it's anything but unreasonable in my opinion. Since 2008, wages for doctors have stagnated, meaning they've had a real terms pay cut of 26%. So adding inflation into the mix, which sits around 10%, then in reality, it's a real terms pay cut of 36%. So this isn't even a pay rise, but rather the BMA are actually demanding a 1% pay cut. Those on the right will bang on about affordability, tough choices, blah, 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 whatever. Who makes the tough choices? It's always us, the working class. Our Prime Minister, Rishi Sunak, is worth nearly $1 billion. Is it tough on him? So what about every single MP? Their wage is over 80 grand a year, putting them firmly in the top 5%. And that's not even factoring in incomes a lot of them get on the side. Basically, our politicians are rich and they are actively making the rest of us poorer. Now, if we want to get into tough choices and someone's going to lose out, cool, let's talk about that. How about we hike taxes on the rich? If anyone should be tightening their belts, surely it should be those with the broadest shoulders. But not even that, we can find the money without tax rises. We have the wealth to do so already. We're like the 5th richest nation in the world. We pissed away billions on dodgy PPE. We're spending millions, and I'm sorry if you like the royals, fair enough if you do, but we are spending millions on royal events as if the royals don't have enough money to pay for it themselves. Now check this out. The government is spending 8 million quid on portraits of the king in schools, police stations and council offices. Now I can hear you say, well Curtis, 8 million quid, that's pennies in the grand scheme of things. That wouldn't even cover what's needed. But the point I'm making is about priorities. With everything going on, strikes, energy costs, rent and food, then spending millions on useless stuff, and sorry, it is, signals that this government doesn't care about the working class. Now, the demands from the BMA would cost $2 billion, which in reality, the Tories could easily find that money. And when I mention PPE, that cost $4 billion. So we have the capacity to make decisions that help workers across the country. Now, the government has shut down negotiations. They've said that 35% is too high. Therefore, unless the BMA retracts that demand, then they won't get round the table. But that's literally the point of negotiating. Even if the BMA doesn't expect 35%, the point is going high and, I don't know, maybe you end up with a subpar but acceptable offer. I don't know if you've ever heard the phrase, shoot for the stars, you may hit the moon. Why would anyone in their right mind lowball themselves? Besides, this is actually a con. The government are not prepared to get around the table regardless of the figure. They'd most likely employ the same tactic if the BMA asked for 5 or 10%, which coincidentally, some of the RMT demands were 11% to keep up with inflation. And guess what? The Tories employed the exact same tactic. Mick Lynch and the RMT stood their grounds and actually managed to secure deals. The Tories don't want to give workers a pay rise because they just don't care about them. It is literally as simple as that. So by not getting around the table, this guarantees lengthening the strikes, and the goal is to anger the rest of the public, as if these workers aren't, the public anyway. But they want to try and turn people against striking workers, and by doing that, this gives them leverage to essentially not give a pay rise. But the public are on the right side of this issue. 54% back the striking doctors. Now that figure actually rises to 61% among those with health conditions. So if you've seen Kate Andrews on LBC saying, well, the patients are missing out, and when doctors say they care about their patients, that's why they're striking, that's bullshit. That's not why they're doing it. Well, I think the majority of people disagree, and the majority of people who do have a health condition disagree. So the government, they will try, but all things considered in our current circumstances, strikers aren't going anywhere.